Good evening and welcome back to another Fantasy Football Fix daily price change predictions video. My name is FPL Nacho and this is the series where we discuss potential FPL price changes to help you build that essential team value. Now, of course, Saturday morning 11 AM is the game week 13 deadline, so plenty of price changes can happen between now and then. And in this video, if you are currently in the market for Reece James or Jota or a Chilwell owner, you definitely want to stick around for this video as there is plenty to discuss in this video. So as always guys, all the information is taken from fantasyfootballfix.com, the leading FPL platform. So if you win the Windows mini leagues or improve your overall rank, be sure to head over to fantasyfootballfix.com. All the links are in the bio. And if you are enjoying this YouTube channel and this video, be sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. So without further ado guys, let's get started. Right guys, let's kick off this video as we usually do, looking at the Fantasy Football Fix price change predictor. And I can't believe I'm saying this again guys, but Reece James is predicted to rise in price once again. Now, he has been flying in price for the last probably 4 or 5 game weeks, and he's looking like he might rise to 6.2 million tonight. You can see it in the progress bar, 114.3%. So he has crossed over that 100% threshold and rising at 2.2% progress per hour. So there is no stopping him right now. Managers are clearly, those who don't own him, are seeing the potential off the back of that Champions League performance as well. And at 29% ownership, do not be surprised by game week 13 deadline that he is far and beyond above 30% ownership in the way that he is going right now. So if you're currently sat there and targeting Reece James, or you're a Ben Chilwell owner and looking to move across, tonight might be the time to do it if you have no other problems in your team. Of course, maybe wait for those Europa League games first and foremost to see if there's any injuries for your players. Now, another player that's been really hotly tipped over the last few game weeks is Diogo Jota. Currently 7.5 million. I'm really surprised he hasn't risen in price recently, and it looks like he could get his first price rise to 7.6 million tonight. You can see there he's surpassed the 100% progress bar, currently sat at 107.6%. So we do have him to rise in price tonight. And of course, still no clear information on Bobby Firmino and how long-term his injury is. But with the home fixture against Southampton and the form Liverpool have been in recently, it does look like a real great opportunity to go with Diogo Jota, especially at that price point of 7.5 million and the fixtures coming up. So for those managers that are targeting Diogo Jota, might be the time to pull the trigger tonight if you do want to make that move and avoid that price rise. Now, a few of the players that potentially rising in price tonight: Conor Gallagher at Crystal Palace, currently at 6 million, predicted to rise to 6.1 million tonight. Been a real influence in that Crystal Palace team, somebody that has been spoken about a lot in these videos, and at 25% ownership, looking like he could really cause a bit of damage now on our overall ranks if you don't own him. And with the fixtures coming up, still a solid hold for managers going forward, so wouldn't put off managers going for Conor Gallagher right now. And Trent Alexander-Arnold still ticking along, and he's going to be approaching that 8 million price bracket, I'm sure of it, by the end of this season. And looking like he might rise to 7.9 million tonight, as you can see, rising at 1.1% per hour. Definitely a player that still should be on everybody's radar, even at his price point. We need to remember that he does get those clean sheets, and he is a bonus point magnet, and he's brilliant value at 7.8, potentially 7.9 million tonight. Now, the one that probably hasn't justified the potential price rise is going to be Harry Kane. Now, all the names that I've mentioned previously have all been delivering in the points returns, but Harry Kane is one that definitely managers are bringing in because of the fixtures rather than his recent form. But looking at the next 3 fixtures for them, Burnley and 2 home games, it does look like it's a great time to own Harry Kane if he ever is going to find form, and clearly managers are starting to get a little bit of fear of not owning him over the coming game weeks. And a few notable potential price fallers. The main one we have to discuss is going to be potentially the price fall of Chilwell tomorrow. Now, not really tonight there's anything major to talk about unless you own Shackleton of Leeds and Kovacic of Chelsea. But again, very lowly owned players. I don't think there's a single player above 4 or 5% ownership tonight. So I don't think there's anything we need to touch on. But tomorrow, Ben Chilwell is predicted to fall in price. So if you are currently a Chilwell owner, we know that injury is long term. You can hold for one more night, but then after that, you really want to move him across because he's going to be a long-term injury in your team. So if you are Reece James targeting, could be the time to pull that trigger tonight. But we're going to touch on a few of these players in a bit more detail, in particular the price rises, and we're going to see whether we can justify bringing them in ahead of game week 13. Okay guys, so as I mentioned, Reece James is predicted to rise in price tonight, and I think it's only right that we look at the Chelsea defender in comparison to another popular player right now, and that is going to be Marcos Alonso. Now, not predicted to rise in price tonight, Marcos Alonso. However, Chilwell owners are clearly seeing the potential of Marcos Alonso as an obvious sideways move. And it's worth mentioning that of the Chilwell transfer combinations, 50% of managers are doing Chilwell to Reece James. And that's only right, I think. He's definitely the sideways move to make in the Chelsea defensive area. But 17.2% of the transfers is Ben Chilwell to Marcos Alonso. So clearly some managers are seeing the potential available with Marcos Alonso, clearly being a little bit cheaper, which will free up a bit of cash in your squads. And it's worth mentioning, Marcos Alonso is only the real natural left wing back to play at Chelsea. Otherwise, you're looking at the likes of Hudson-Odoi, Pulisic, or maybe even Azpilicueta playing left wing back. I think Marcos Alonso is the easy solution for Thomas Tuchel in the short term at Chelsea. So, looking at the two here, I think it's worth noting that they've played very similar minutes in the league so far. Marcos Alonso being heavily featured at the start of the season until Ben Chilwell basically took his spot in the team. Reece James, more been injury prone, so been a bit at the start of the season and now clearly more in the recent form. So very similar minutes, and you can see the points per game here between the two. 8.3 for Reece James, which we know is ridiculous, and Marcos Alonso at 6.5 points per game. So no slouch whatsoever. Really good points per game for Marcos Alonso. We all know that he is a machine in FPL when he does get a run of games. And I think with Rudiger playing left centre-back, it really does kind of take away the defensive responsibilities for Alonso a little bit, because we know that is definitely a weak part of his game. So I do think that Rudiger being there is going to help Marcos Alonso in that perspective. Now, I want to come down here to the touch map first and foremost, because I think it's a good indicator to show how similar the two are in their play in the game. And I think this is only right to the Tuchel formation that he plays. I'd expect any wing back to play in this sort of structure to have this kind of heat map. But it's good to see here that Marcos Alonso operating really a lot in that final third and getting a few penalty touch areas as well. Reece James, as you can imagine, a bit more dominant on that heat map and getting those touches in and around the box. But the good thing here is we can see Marcos Alonso taking set pieces as well. It's a big part of the game. Now, whether he's going to share them with Reece James or not, I'm not too sure. But I do think that Marcos Alonso will have his fair share of set pieces, which is only going to add another element to his game. And when we come down here to just the general underlying stats, 12 shots for Reece James in comparison to Marcos Alonso's 11. And we can see attempted assists, 12 for Alonso and 17 for Reece James. Now, when we compare these stats, we have to remember that Marcos Alonso, we're comparing him against arguably the best FPL asset right now in the game in Reece James. If not the best, definitely the most in form. His underlying stats and points per game are absolutely outrageous, even topping the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, who is basically the benchmark of FPL. So underlying stats are unbelievable for Reece James. So the fact that Marcos Alonso is even in the conversation shows how much of an FPL asset we value him. Now I just want to come down here to generally kind of like the majority of the underlying stats here. And we can see Marcos Alonso only picking up 1 goal to Reece James' 4. But again, Reece James has been on absolute fire recently. But the expected goals for Marcos Alonso is still good at 0.75. And as I mentioned, the shots 11 to 12. The shots on target 3 to 5. Still some good underlying stats there. And the expected assists we mentioned, Reece James still leading the way on 1.96, but 0.84 for Marcos Alonso is still very good underlying stats. So really to kind of wrap up this kind of comparison, there's no doubt that Reece James is the go-to Chelsea defender right now. And I'll probably argue that with the Christmas period coming up, I still think Rudiger is a very shrewd pick. Although he doesn't offer the attacking potential that the other two might do, I think the rotation over Christmas might pay itself in dividends if you do go for Rudiger, just because of those consistency of minutes. However, if you are in a position where you want to go a bit riskier, I think Marcos Alonso is going to be the starting left wing back in this team. And with Chelsea keeping so many clean sheets and the emphasis on them getting forward into that final third, I think if you can do a sideways move from Chilwell to Marcos Alonso, I think that could be a really nice pick and a bit of a differential move over the Christmas period. Right guys, so last up I've just gone over to the fixed comparison matrix to compare 3 very popular assets right now in the game that I think are worth looking at against one another, and that is going to be Diogo Jota and Conor Gallagher, 2 players that are predicted to rise in price tonight, against Phil Foden, who, if anything, is looking like he might get a price fall in the coming days off the back of that potential injury news that Pep Guardiola has mentioned. Now, it's worth mentioning, hasn't ruled him out of game week 13, it's worth noting that, but he has picked up a knock that did keep him out of the Champions League game. I believe he has been training, but hopefully we get a bit more information in the Friday press conferences, which just helps settle our mind a little bit, because at his price point right now with Phil Foden at 8.3 million, I think a lot of managers right now are looking at Diogo Jota at 7.5 million as an opportunity to not only save money, but go for a better asset that is playing out of position. So it's worth noting that. Now, what I've decided here is just to put some common underlying stats and statistics for us to compare between the 3. Now, first and foremost, worth mentioning that they have played slightly differing minutes. Conor Gallagher by far playing the most minutes at 958. Jota playing 759 and Foden at 613. So it's worth noting that first and foremost. But when we come down here, we can see first and foremost goals, Jota leading the way with 5, Gallagher with 4 and Foden with 3. Now, with Jota, that should be no surprise right now. The main attraction for him at 7.5 million is with that Firmino injury, operating out of position as a striker. So that is the major appeal for Jota, and that's why it shouldn't come to any surprise that he is leading in the goals department. Now, FPL assists, Conor Gallagher is absolutely dominating in this area with 5 compared to Foden's 2 and Jota's 1. Now again, a big factor for this for Conor Gallagher is his set piece duties. Corners, a few free kick set pieces which he's been able to whip into the box has been a big factor towards these assists, as well as a few open play assists, which I think really does show the kind of well-rounded value that he's offering as an FPL asset. I'm quite surprised at Foden only picking up 2, but I guess with the minutes he's played probably influenced that a little bit. Now, when we come down a bit further, we can look at touches in the opposition box. Again, no surprises that Jota is leading the way on 50. Foden with 44 and Conor Gallagher a little bit less there on 37. Again, from the eye test and the underlying stats, we can see operates a bit deeper in the midfield compared to the other 2, but that's only natural because of the position that Conor Gallagher is being asked to play compared to Foden and Jota, who is a striker effectively. And in the shots, this is where Conor Gallagher is showing his absolute worth at 6 million. 24 shots, which is rivaling Diogo Jota at 24, and Foden a little bit less there on 15, which I think is worth noting. And another one which Conor Gallagher is absolutely jumping out on is FPL bonus points. 9 FPL bonus points, Foden with 3 and Jota with 0. Now, with Jota, I think the big factor here is that he hardly ever plays 90 minutes. Very much a 60 to 70 minute man and getting rotated. Even with the Bobby Firmino injury recently, we're still seeing Jota coming off over the 70 minute mark. So that is a big impact on why he doesn't pick up any bonus points. And I think that is a really big factor to consider, even though he is playing out of position as a striker. So when we look at these underlying stats, I think the big conversation is what to do with Phil Foden. Well, we can see below the names there that we have our predicted points over the next 5 league matches. And Diogo Jota is in a league in his own, 34.8 points over the next 5 league matches. Now, worth noting that this is the assumption that Firmino is out over this period. Again, we should get more information over the coming days. But remember that if Firmino is confirmed available, that will skew his predicted points because naturally his minutes will be compromised. And I think that's a big reason why Foden's at 19.1 predicted points is there right now. Again, we're not sure about his fitness, and that is going to hinder his potential expected minutes, which again impacts his projected points. But I think that with the conversation is, if Phil Foden is ruled out for game week 13, with the hectic Christmas schedule that we do have, and Firmino confirmed for the next 3 game weeks or so to be out, I think Phil Foden's Diogo Jota is definitely a move that I would recommend managers considering. You're going to save yourself about 0.8 million if you make that move tonight, which again, I probably wouldn't recommend because we need more information on the injuries. But it's going to free up some funds available in the squad. And importantly, you're getting a player which is arguably playing in a better position and better underlying stats than his counterpart. And if you want to go real brave and go all the way down to Gallagher, I wouldn't put anybody off against that, but I would try and find that cash to go up into Diogo Jota. Okay guys, that's going to wrap up today's Fantasy Football Fix daily price change predictions video. I really hope that it's provided a little bit of value going into this game week 13 deadline and just made you understand whether the player that you're targeting is the one that you want to go for. So fingers crossed. And as always, if you want to delve a bit deeper into the FPL world, then be sure to head over to fantasyfootballfix.com or download the free app which provides push notifications so you don't miss any of those potential price changes. And I really recommend checking out the tools. Helps you improve those overall ranks and importantly, win those mini leagues against your friends. Definitely worth keeping an eye on. Links are in the bio. And as always guys, if you want to support the channel, make sure you like the video, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. With the crazy fixtures over the Christmas period, there's going to be plenty of content coming out. You don't want to miss a thing, so be sure to hit that bell. So we will see you same time tomorrow for our Game Week 13 live stream where you get to answer all your questions live and importantly engage with you guys in the community, which is going to be brilliant. So really looking forward to seeing you guys 5:30 tomorrow. So take care and we'll see you then. Cheers.